Howdy, howdy. It's us. We're
Hello.
back. We're doing, well, this is Open Bar 38 Super Chat Catch Up. It's all about the last orders tonight.
Look how organized that is. Beautiful. Named and
Yeah.
numbered.
Yeah, I liked it. I don't often do that, but like this one time I remember to do it. And just for a little bit of housekeeping for people, because Mauler and I were just discussing this backstage. Thursday the 23rd, we will not be doing an open bar that night because I'm going to be in Atlanta for Atlanta Comic Con. And I should hopefully be completely wasted by that point, and yeah, I won't be in any fit state to be organising anything. So, yeah, we will skip a week with open bar, and then we'll get right back into it the following week. Because, well, that's what we do now, Mauler, isn't it?
Yep, that's what we do.
But hey, tonight, in terms of what we're doing, we're here to do super chats, and I'm gonna go on faith here because I feel like YouTube might have lost a few of them in the process because normally it gives me just a big long list of all the super chats that came in on the night that we did our live stream, and it feels like it's a little short based on how many I saw coming in that night. So if by mischance we've missed yours, I deeply apologize, but I will go from the list that I have in front of me right now because there's still quite a few here. So we'll do our best. That's all we can do, I'm afraid. So the oldest one I've got here is from Zach Nippert, who says, really enjoyed this new episode. Kurtzman must not have been involved too much. Well, apparently he wasn't at all. No, he's just a meaningless executive producer. But yeah, this was all about Terry Matalas. He's the showrunner now. Enjoyed every Easter egg, references, callbacks to Kirk movies, and loved the dynamic with Picard and Riker again. Yeah, all I can say for that is, dude, wait until you get to episode 6, I think it is. There is a lot of stuff there. There's a lot of callbacks, and it's just really good. I don't know where you stand with like Easter eggs and fan service and stuff like that. But I
I
feel
love
like
them
if
if they're
yeah, I
done
mean,
right.
yeah, I think much like yourself, if they're done well and they're done with good intentions, like if it's just a cynical attempt, like say Ghostbusters Afterlife, I think was probably an example of just bad fan service, where it's like, yeah, we're just literally going to trot out every reference, every thing that was in the original Ghostbusters movie, because that'll get you happy. Whereas with something like this, I feel like there was just a lot of like genuine enthusiasm for the source material, and they were just like excited to be able to play in this world, and so they brought in all these references because they remembered them, and they wanted to share that. So
Yeah.
yeah, this was it done well, I think.
Well, I've seen Red Letter Media's coverage, and it's kind of interesting considering the bits and bobs of meta that I'm aware of versus what they're aware of, and then they're noticing things that I happen to know is true. Like they'll be like, "Huh, feels a lot less like Kurtzman and Golds." No, sorry, is it Kurtzman and Goldsmith?
Yeah, Kiva Goldsman is the other guy.
Goldsman.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were like, their influence seems a lot lesser on this, and I'm just sitting there like, it seems, and then being like, yeah, this feels like a lot more. Picard's dialogue is much more like him. The goals
Yes.
seems to be different. There's all these kinds of references that would really require a person who knows their Trek. Like it's,
Oh, there's some like 'cause some of them are easy to do. Like if you've seen the movies, like you can work in certain things and it's fine. But like some of them are like deep lore that goes to like obscure episodes from like the first season of TNG. Like you'd have to be a real connoisseur of Star Trek to recognize some of these. And yeah, there's
yeah,
probably a ton that even I don't recognize because I'm not an absolute expert on it. But yeah, it brought a little smile to my face. It showed these guys get it. These guys really like this stuff, and it's great to see people like that in charge of something like this.
yeah.
That's the people you need. We've been very lacking in them recently. J40 says, we finally got a proper Irishman on along with a Scot and a Welshman. Where the hell is Az to complete the collection? I know, we missed out there.
That was a missed opportunity. Yeah.
We should, yeah. I feel like you could double as an Englishman and a Welshman.
Boo.
You could sound like either.
I gotta charge up my Welsh accent, I guess, if we get the four of us on, so that it becomes
Yeah,
clear.
you got to really differentiate. But hey, it was great to have Dave Cullen on the other night.
Yeah.
Spent about 3 years trying to track the bastard down, and we finally got him. So it was
We
great.
did indeed.
And who knows, he might be on Friday Night Tights at some point as well. That'd be good to see.
Oh yeah.
Da Barbers says, unrelated topic, but I recently finished Dark Harvest, and my goodness, it's an awesome book. Thank you, Drinker. Had me hooked until the very end. We'd love to see it as an HBO limited series. Hey, so would I. Yeah, I'd be fine with that. But hey, we're working on a Ryan Drake short movie at the moment, and then hopefully that's going to lead into bigger projects with the Drake series, and then who knows what we'll end up doing with Dark Harvest. And I might write more books in that series beyond that one. So it's all going to spawn some MCU of drinker shittiness. So,
Yay!
hey.
Tatiana could be the Orthanos.
Yeah. I'm going to have spin off TV shows with like obscure characters that are only in the books for like 5 minutes or something.
Be great.
Slayer of Wales says, when speaking about Star Trek as an anthology, I'm wondering what the group thinks about DS9 and its more serialized nature. Gary probably would. Well, Gary and Robert would be the people to ask about that. DS9 was never my favorite series, and so I only kind of dipped in and out of it. So yeah, I couldn't really answer that as well as I would like to, I'm afraid. I know that, I do sort of miss the episodic nature of Star Trek. It's just, even with Picard, which I really, season 3, I really like. It is an overarching story. It's it's serialized rather than episodic now. And that is kind of a shame. I missed, like, what's this latest adventure this week? But hey ho. Angel Shut gave me $10, so thank you, man. Maximum Weeb says, glad you are all doing this. A big fan of Dave Cullen. Just saw Soylent Green in a theatre. I cried. Surreally eerie how accurate it became. Join a farm co-op. Pray for Ohio. Regime doing Holodomor 2.0 famine. Yeah, is that where they had the train derailment in Ohio? Like, where it spilled all this toxic shit into, like, the atmosphere. And everyone's just, like, not talking about it now.
Yeah, I watched a video summarizing that, and that's some dystopian shit. Like, that
It really is.
Comes across like this is the way it works. Like when the government don't want to give you too much information because they think it'll cause a panic. The problem is that we all assume that's what's happening when you don't give us information. Like, wait a minute, are you not telling us because what's just happened is going to kill everybody or something? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, it's like, this is how the zombie outbreak starts,
Yeah.
But this is the thing. Yeah, like, we live in a world now where information does get out, and so if you don't get on top of it and get ahead of it and start, like, giving people proper information, yeah, that is when they start to panic. So, like, what are you hiding from us? But yeah, man,
that smog cloud that was floating up. Like, I was like, what the fuck is Mordor doing here? Like, what? How did this happen?
It's like Chernobyl or something. When that happened, it was like a week before the Soviet government even admitted that anything had happened, and even then, it was like, oh, there's been a small fire at the Chernobyl plant, but everything's fine now. Don't ask any more questions, comrades.
Like giant Cthulhu monster eating people, and you'd be like, that's normal. That is normal. That's a normal thing that happens. That's nature. Don't worry about
it. Yeah, it's just a bear.
It's a really big bear. It's a water bear.
It's funny. I was playing this game called The Quarry. It's like that, like a choose your own adventure game on PS5. And yeah, it plays into that trope a little bit where, like, people are getting attacked by fucking werewolves and ripped apart, and like, everyone's like, oh man, is it a bear that attacked them? And it's clearly like a humanoid figure, like, standing up and running at them, The bears are really skinny around here. Harry the Dirty says, as a student of Mauler and fan Trek, this is crap. Well, I disagree, man. I thought Picard was really good, so yeah, fair play.
What is it? Student of Mauler? I'd be curious what they mean, because, like, from what I gather from you guys, you're making some good arguments as to how, at the very least, how it's better than season 1 and 2.
I mean, I think so, yeah. I wouldn't subject you to season 1 and 2 and then make you, like, get into this, because, like, you're a total Star Trek, normie, like, you never watched it, and so I wouldn't want that to be your introduction to Star Trek. I'd like you to at least see the good stuff before you have to endure the nightmare of Kurtzman Trek.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've told people, a lot of people, like, start with TNG. It's like, I'd like to start with the originals, and trust me, I have patience. As someone who goes through the first 2 seasons of Buffy happily whenever I rewatch it, which is like fucking 30 episodes of crap, which, by the way, will trigger some people. Don't worry about it. I love Buffy. But yeah, the fact is, like, I could get through the original series' dryness. Plus, as far as I know, there's going to be good episodes in there, right? People like the original show.
What, the original Star Trek?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's you know, it was a show of ideas over like, you know, technical accomplishments and visuals, obviously, because it was made in the
Hmm.
60s and it wasn't on a huge budget. But yeah, it's definitely got a charm to it. I think the next generation is where they hit that sweet spot of like, you know, playing with a lot of really interesting ideas, really well written, you know, exploring a lot of interesting moral dilemmas and stuff. But the, you know, the technology and the production values had advanced to the point where they could make it look relatively good, you know,
Yeah.
by 1980s, early 90s standards. Yeah, the first season, a bit like Buffy, that was pretty ropey because I
Yeah.
think they hadn't quite figured the characters out yet, and I think they brought in a lot of like apparently they just reused a lot of storylines from like the original series that never got commissioned. It was almost like a, you know, a season that never got made, so they just like pilfered the scripts there,
Can I,
and they
I
were
don't even know
quite.
if you remember the earlier episodes of season one Buffy. There's one where this ancient demon is trying to kill a bunch of monks in the opening, and they chant some shit, and they trap him inside a book. That book ends up in the school, and I think their tech teacher or Willow is scanning their books into their like online library,
On that
and
counts as reading it.
accounts as reading it, and so he goes into and
Yeah.
he becomes like he's basically Ultron.
Yeah, yeah, I
and,
remember this.
and they defeat him because he decides to put himself into a big machine suit thing to tell Willow he loves her, and then they like fight him. I think they zap him with electricity or something. It's one of the most bizarre. It's 40 minutes, and he like almost destroys the whole world. I think it's oh, dude, and there's some like really cringy attempts at trying to stay up to date with like lingo. I think one of the kids
Oh
is like,
no.
"If you're not jacked in, you're not alive."
Oh,
And he's talking
of
about
course, this
being,
would be the late '90s when the internet
yeah,
was just taking off. Yeah,
you know, they didn't know what,
I'm gonna surf the web.
yeah, stuff like that. So you know, yeah, growing pains. That's what they call it.
Yeah, I think so, and yeah, it's proof that I guess shows can have a rough first season and then ultimately recover. And yeah, TNG definitely did. Joseph Swift says, "Hi, Drinker and Gary. Been watching you ever since your Cowboy Bebop video. Damn. Gary, I live in Long Beach and it's normal here if you all ever visit LA. Keep it up, chaps. Thanks for all the content and authenticity. Gary, I feel old and I'm 23. Jesus.
Damn, old is getting younger, huh?
I know, to be 23 again. I am. But yeah, it's Cowboy Bebop. That was funny. Like, I never even really bothered watching the remake of it. I just like enjoyed the circus around it. It was like that show did basically everything to alienate its own fan base.
And
It
it
was
wasn't
impressive.
successful. What were the odds?
I know. Who would have thought? Andrew Monpetit says, "Guys, total side note. Did you hear that Susan Wojcicki is stepping down as CEO of YouTube? Yes, she is.
And people celebrated that a little too fast, huh?
What's happening now? Has she got
Getting
a
replaced
replacement?
by a guy who loves NFTs.
Oh, right, yeah, cool.
And everyone expects the monetization on YouTube is about to go to shit. I
I
suppose we'll
mean,
see.
yeah. The thing is like every change is always like the worst thing that's ever happened to YouTube, and
Yep.
for the most part, it doesn't change that much for the average creator. Um, but yeah, man, it was a week for resignations because she went, Nicola Sturgeon went. I mean, what's next? You know.
Don't know.
Next one is from Sylvian Saint Laurent. Says, "Great panel, keep it up." And that was for 100 Canadian dollars. Thank you. We will keep it up as hard as we can.
Yeah.
Maximum Weeb says, "Mindy Kaling's brother, Vijay Jojo, fucking hell, Chokolal Ingham, author of Almost Black, true story. He got rejected from med school, did blackface, got scholarship, book cover hilarious. Also, go see Everything Everywhere All at Once, masterpiece." Well, as to that second point, I mean, we've both seen it and I've reviewed it, so you've probably done an EFAP on it or something.
We did. Very good movie. Fully recommend.
Yeah, very good fun. Don't know about Mindy Kaling's brother. Don't know much about her family history or anything. was reasonably well informed that she came from money. You know, her parents were professionals and stuff, and so I think she's just one of them people that like never really had to work all that hard. You know, probably went to college and then got into, you know, good jobs within Hollywood, and suddenly she's like headlining shows. So yeah, well done you. I'm not sure you deserve it after this. Grendel Vivat says, was never a big Trek fan, but my sympathies for what you've all been through over the past few years. Glad you all finally have something to enjoy. Thank you. It's what can I liken this to, right? It would be like if they did Andor for Star Wars, but like Andor revolved around Luke Skywalker and Han Solo and Princess Leia. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like kind of that, where it's like, suddenly we've got something that's well made and it's got our favorite characters in it again. Nice. We like that. Um,
It sounds like
excuse
it's
me.
more of a what could have been as well, because it's already over, right? Like, at least for you.
What in terms of like my investment in it, or
Both that and the fact that, you know, at least as far as I'm aware, there's no reason to assume there's another Picard season made by Terry Matalis. There's no reason to think that's going to happen.
no? I mean, I guess what I'd like to see is like him just kind of taking over the I don't know what you would call it, becoming like the Kevin Feige of the Star Trek universe. You know, just the guy who kind of oversees all these projects, keeps them faithful to like the Star Trek canon and the Star Trek lore and all that stuff. You know, he could potentially take on a job like that, because it's just so rare where you find someone who's seems to be a good writer and actually really cares about the source material, and that seems to be what they've got there. So
Yeah.
yeah, make use of him, Paramount. It's not often you find a guy like that. um Next one is CGI Durst, who says, are African Scots people real? What do you get black people in Scotland? I mean, yeah. Like,
Oh, I
probably
thought they
not.
meant like an African person and a Scottish person. Can they have sex? I was like, yep, like, that's possible.
I mean, it's theoretically, I've been told. You know, you also do, yes, you do get black people from Africa originally who've emigrated to Scotland or whatever,
Yeah.
and they're here. Probably not to the same extent that you do in America or like, you know, London or something, but yeah, it does happen. John W says, I'm so glad to hear that the new season of Picard is good. I'm such a huge TNG fan, and so is my wife, that we named our firstborn son Riker Jean Luc W. He is now 4 months old. I hope to share Star Trek with him like my dad did with me. See, that's the sort of thing that just warms my heart, you know? Your dad got you into Star Trek, and then eventually you're going to have children of your own and bring them up, and you'll share it with them. It's nice, you know? Like, my dad is the reason I got into Star Trek back in the day. He started showing me the movies. He showed me the original series, and then you know, Next Generation came out, and I got into that. And so, it is a nice generational thing, I suppose. I mean, like, obviously, you're more of a Star Wars guy. Like, did you find out about it through family, or did you just discover it? Like,
Star Wars or Star Trek? Sorry.
Star Wars.
Oh, I have a very strong memory with Star Wars where I asked my dad out of curiosity from seeing the cover, I think, of Return of the Jedi. Because I was like, "What is this?" And that's one of the things I can't remember anymore exactly what order I watched the OT. I'm pretty sure I watched it in order. In any case, I adored the first one that I saw of any of which one it was, and then my dad was in, I think, Cash Generator, the sort of hand-me-down or exchange store, and he was like, "Well, the trilogy is here, and I assume you'd like to have your own, so you know, we'll just get you that. There you go." And then I watched all three of them many times over, and I was like, "This is fucking amazing."
It's so cool, eh, that something like that could be, you know, almost life changing for you ultimately. Start you down a
Oh yeah.
path that'll have big implications later. It's pretty
We
cool.
talked about this before. I was spoiled because I just got to watch all the best movies of like 80s, 90s, and then 2000s all together, and I was like, "Man, movies are great." And then I
Yeah.
grew up and had to watch things that they came out, which is like on slow motion mode to getting to good movies.
Yeah. It's changed days, that's for sure. Maximum Weeb says, thanks, Dave. Just brought the 4K Blu ray of Rollerball based on your recommendation. Silent Running made me cry. Logan's Run, fantastic, great PG nudity. Yes. Oh man, what was her name again? Um, Jenny Agutter that was in that. She got her kit off a lot. Like I don't know if you've ever seen American Werewolf in London, but she's
Yeah, I've
like the
seen it.
nurse in that. And weirdly, she appeared in Winter Soldier. She was one of like the executives at Shield. You know, like Scarlett Johansson ends up using her as like
Oh
a face
yeah,
mask
yeah.
thing. Yeah, that was her. But yeah, quite something back in the day. What was the next one? Of course, Soylent Green is too real. Actual death of Saul actor during film. Heston cried for real. Didn't know that actually. That's
Hmm.
pretty cool. Handshot First says, Drinker, my favourite YouTuber and human man warrior Tony Schnur, Thick44, just passed away. Can you please say, all hail the Wyvern King in his memory? Well, there we go. Yeah, RIP to Tony Schnur, I guess. Didn't know of him, I'm afraid, but yeah, sorry to hear he passed away.
Yeah.
Guardian Fortress says, speaking of old movies to recommend, Muller needs to watch Patton. I think that's the second time that someone told that
I
to
think it's
you.
the same guy. Like
All right,
he's
just keep sending the same super
he will
chat.
recommend Pat every single stream I'm on, I think, until I see it.
Are you just? Yeah, you probably should just to classify him, I suppose. G Unit says, I love when I see a group praise shows and films that you love. The enthusiasm is contagious and makes me want to watch them. Hey, you know what? We would love it if every open bar was just us. Like, oh my god, it's been another incredible week in entertainment. Can you believe it, Mahler? You know, I can't believe how many awesome films and TV shows are coming out these days. It would be nice to be able to do that. It's just, you know,
Yeah.
Hollywood's not helping us out here.
I watched something like Ant-Man. If someone was like, you went in looking to hate it, all you do is going to be bad, so we're just like, that's not my fault. That's because they keep making these things this way. Funny enough, with Ant-Man, I saw a couple people saying like, "Oh, it's pretty good," and I was like, "Man, this thing fit in with MOMs. This fits in with Love and Thunder. Like in terms of everything looking fake, the plotline making no sense at all, the reshoots just crimpling it to like hell. There's so much horrible like tonal humor mixing with drama. I was like, it's the exact same thing, and we gotta actually say what it is and where it's going wrong for it to change. And so we don't I've always found it weird to do the whole like positive versus negative thing. It's like it's not even about a would it be nicer for everything to be better. It's just like gotta do our jobs, I suppose, right? And
Well,
that's
yeah, I mean, like we're there to give honest opinions about things, so like otherwise, what's the point? But
because
it does make me wonder, like, say, you know, something like Star Wars, where you've been super burned with that. Um, you know, say they did make something like a new Star Wars movie. Say it was like Ryan Johnson, like brought his trilogy out, and it was quite good. Like, do you think it would take you longer to accept the idea that it's good just because it's him and because of like what you've seen up until that point?
I can't deny subconscious biases, but I feel like the whole point of the way that I do my work is that it wouldn't take very long at all. If say for example he released something as good as Empire, I should be able to notice that straight away. That's the whole point of my work is that it's in the content, it's right there, the connecting pieces, setups, payoffs, blah blah blah, and to the point where we've had examples of this, right? With I'll always go back to this classic. I can't remember which episode it is exactly, but we're watching Batwoman, and we're just memeing on it, making fun of it. Every scene is dumb as fuck. And then there's this scene where Lucius Fox is talking to the man who's just been released from prison who had shot his dad and killed him, and he walks up to him and I think he intends to kill him. He's got his gun with him. And he starts talking to him and he's like breaking up. The actor's doing a pretty good job and he's just like, why? Why did you do it? And then the guy is like, it wasn't like I know how it looks, I know how it seems like, and a lot of people would have told you whatever, but like, it wasn't me. I was framed, blah blah blah, and this have. And then the guy, he's taking this information, but he's not really listening to it because he just wants to kill him. He's like so torn up emotionally, and we were all silent for like a few minutes. Then we were like, "This is
Yeah,
good. What the hell's going on? This
that
is
must have
good."
been a really weird experience. It's like this tiny little oasis of like good writing, you know,
It's
in a
almost like, how the
horrible
hell did that get
desert.
in here? And I like to believe that, and this goes the same for you as well, and everyone that I believe is just being honest. You watch it and you're ready for something good at all times, but it's we're not getting it.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's often how it goes.
Samurai D Phil says, "Fuck yeah! Finally got to see my favorite YouTuber. Mauler, keep it long, and Drinker, keep on drinking. Will do.
Will
Look
do.
forward to you all every week. Cheers. Thank you." Slip McCartney says, "Are there any more J Longbone EFAP readings planned? Love your Gotham High take."
We've not done any more reading recordings, but we have done a couple of EFAP movies. We've got like fucking 15 EFAP movies recordings with Jay Longbone being edited in different like manners. We've got every Halloween arc is being edited a year before it releases, so she'll be on the next one. But we recorded with her the 365 days movies. Have you heard of those?
Don't think so, no.
They're basically porn, but trying to come across as a real movie.
Oh, okay.
And she wanted me and Rags to watch it with her, and those recordings are pretty funny. I think she's planning on doing something with that, so you may see them.
Nice. Mark Riker says, "All my favorite YouTubers. Love. Thank you." Caleb Siasili says, "A little far off topic maybe, but comments on Puss in Boots: The Last Wish in case you've seen it. If not, I strongly recommend." Muller's seen it. I have not yet. So
That's another great example of I went in being like, here we go, animated film with the cat doing probably very chill, wholesome things, going on his little adventure. But I was thoroughly impressed. One of the opening scenes takes death very seriously, and I was like, wow, this is different. And then the whole movie has really strong jokes, really great character dynamics, some strong arcs, excellent voice acting, and the animation's beautiful. Those are my thoughts. Everyone should go see it.
all right. Cliff says multiple companies have been tossing out the lore books set there by their founders because the new employees determined their forebears to be problematic. Yeah, you're not fucking kidding. Like, I was just seeing on Twitter today, like, apparently, like, sensitivity readers have gone through the Roald Dahl books and they've edited out things that are offensive, like the use of the word fat and stuff, because we don't want to upset the fatties. And I just thought, you motherfuckers, like, what gives you the right to do this? What gives you the right to go through these absolute classics of literature and fuck with them because you don't want to offend people? I bet you just try not to be so fucking fat in future. Maybe then you wouldn't get offended by it.
I'm guessing they're not removing ugly, which is something people are less likely to be able to control, by the way. Because at least fat you can lose weight. If you're ugly, then well, you might be out of luck. But yeah, how do we decide what stuff is offensive? Is it really just people being loud about it? Is that it?
I mean, they say that they're sensitivity readers, so I don't know if they've got people who theoretically have got some grasp of, modern parlance and what's acceptable and what's considered, offensive and outdated, and they just go through it like cutting that stuff out. But I just thought, what a horrifying reality to be living in, where like these books are now getting censored and altered, so that the thing that's supposed to be so special about literature and films and all that stuff is like, I could have watched Return of the Jedi or something when I was like 8 years old, and 50 years from now, when I'm an old man or possibly even dead, I could be watching that same movie with my grandkids, and we'd be seeing the exact same film or reading the same book that I read as a child. And that's special. But the idea that, like, oh no, they're going to get some weird censored, toned down, inoffensive, bland, corporatized version because we don't want to upset anyone. Yeah, fuck off, man. You don't have the right to change things like that.
If I'm an old man in the living room in my diaper, just trying to pay attention to everybody, and they're like, let's put on A New Hope. And I'm like, oh, yeah, New Hope. And they're like, sensitivity version, please. I'd be like, sensitivity version. when the
At
arm
which point
comes
you
off,
just voluntarily soil yourself just to piss them off,
Yeah. In my day, you fuckers had balls. Why are we here? What's the point?
I mean, I assume, like, if it's something like the Roald Dahl books, I assume this has been done with the blessing of his estate or something, because, like, presumably there must be legal contracts in place where you can't just start editing the book without someone representing the author agreeing to it. But my god, what a horrifying reality to be living in.
I hear you.
Creatosis says, "Hail Drinker, these streams and your audiobooks helped me through my 12-hour shifts. Damn, man. Love Dark Harvest, Redemption, and Sacrifice. Any plans to visit conventions in the fictional land of Canada?" Well, I can't go there because it's made up. Canadians aren't real people. But no, on a serious note, I will be probably in Toronto in the summertime because I'm going to be watching my movie get made. So, hey, that'll be fun. But yeah, I've got no conventions planned there yet. Cliff says, also writers don't want to follow the lore because they believe their writing is restricted by the in-universe rules. The truth is, they're talentless. Yeah, I think we can all agree to that, can't we? Look at Rings of Power, everyone. There's your perfect
Yeah,
example.
that's the thing about a lot of stories. You might be able to be like, oh, I feel like I know the writer a bit better considering what they've written about. They feel this way, this side, that way. Rings of Power. What could you learn from the writers of Rings of Power from having watched it? Be like,
They're not
God,
very good at writing.
that, but also like, damn, you guys have boring lives. A little bit anyway.
Ofer Ravid says, hearing all of you talk this passionately about finally getting a good modern show makes me even madder that everything else is so shite. P.S. Isn't it ridiculous that YouTube wouldn't let me post the actual word? Yeah, I mean they're pretty
Well,
hardcore
they
when it
wouldn't want
comes
us
to
to
the
be
comments.
offended.
Well, yeah, exactly. I need a sensitivity reader to go through these super chats before I actually read them out,
Yeah.
because I might get sad. But yeah, it's something I guess we always have to be careful of as well, that we don't get so desensitized to shittiness in modern content that we're almost like accepting anything that's just borderline mediocre because it's good in comparison, you know.
Yeah.
It's just having that standard. And that's why it helps to like watch older stuff occasionally, because it just reminds you like, oh yeah, this is the level that things used to be at.
Yeah, definitely.
Insane Hippie says, until they make an official apology to the fan base that they insulted for not blindly consuming the swill of Star Trek Discovery and Picard Season 1 and 2, I will not watch nor support Star Trek in any way. They need to apologize for that. I mean, I admire your principled stand on this one, sir, but it's never going to happen, unfortunately. They're never going to come up and say, yep, Discovery was shit. You know, Picard season 1 and 2 were garbage. We're really sorry. We're sorry if we ever like insulted you for critiquing our shows.
Yeah, and
You know, it's not going to happen.
I'd be curious
Sadly.
to take all the nonsense bullshit that's been said in production type interviews or whatever from higher ups in Marvel. But it's not like we expect Sam Raimi to have to apologize on their behalf before we'll watch his film in the MCU, right? Like, we're not going to be like, Sam, I'm not watching your movie until they apologize for whatever. And it's just like, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if what he means is like, you know, almost like the studio executives, or say
you're
in
not
this
going to get it.
case, I
You
know
never know.
exactly. Yeah, I don't know if they're expecting like maybe J.J. Abrams to apologize for the Star Trek movies he made, or freaking Alex Kurtzman to come out and say, yeah, I was clearly completely inappropriate for this, and I should never have made it. Like again, they're not going to admit that they fucked up like that.
No.
That's just not how these things are done,
Well, yeah,
unfortunately.
and just I don't know. I at that point I would rather be like I consider them differently, as in like Terry Matalas should not be considered the same way as
Yeah.
Akiva Goldsmith or whoever else in terms of I guess culpability or support. These are two
The,
different people.
There is a great example though of I think it was Rick Berman who was running Star Trek back in the day before you know it got J.J. Abrams into oblivion,
Yeah,
and he actually did straight up apologize for how Enterprise ended. Because you know, again, you won't know about this, but it was like a really shitty, disappointing, anticlimactic final episode. And you know, in the years afterwards, he just straight up came out and said, "Yeah, it was a really shitty idea, and we shouldn't have done it. And I'm really sorry. I feel really bad about that." And it's like, wow, respect to you, sir. You just straight up admitted that you didn't do something very good. Like
it does
that's
happen.
pretty admirable.
We had the 1-2 punch with was it Tim Miller when he said like we're decanonizing Terminator 3, 4, and 5 to make Dark Fate because nobody likes those fucking movies. So yep, there we go. We're cleaning up the timeline. And then they make Dark Fate, and everyone fucking hates it. And it's possibly one of the worst entries in the Terminator franchise. And then later on says like, yeah, I missed the mark on that one.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It's like both things, like apologizing for someone else's bad work in the series, and then also your own bad work.
Yeah. Ran Murray says, toasting you fine gents with a goblet of Belgian triple. Hard to like an improvement to bad reboot Star Trek, but cheers to small victories. Yeah, I mean, I guess you
Yeah.
got to take them where they come, you know? Almost Dead Man says, regarding narcissistic showrunners, how do you think we got so many in the industry? Probably because they didn't have to work so hard to get into the positions they're in now. They seem to either get there through nepotism or just saying the right things politically, I guess.
Yeah, and then enough people say like, "Man, you're a genius," and then they
Yeah.
start to believe it.
Frozen in the 80s says, before Hollywood writers put pen to paper, they should be made to watch your woke video. Fantastic. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. That seemed to go down really well, and
Mm.
I guess I was just, I was looking to clarify a few things, and try and give some guidelines on what I see as being woke and just, either non-woke or just bad writing. They're not always the same thing. Um, and yeah, I just don't want people to start, particularly when it kind of feels like the winds are shifting and we're maybe starting to gain ground and we're winning against this shittiness. I don't want it to turn into a witch hunt where we're actually like trashing good things and showrunners or writers who actually just have good intentions and tarring them with that brush as well. Because yeah, there's going to come a time when we maybe look back and think we fucked up a lot of things that we shouldn't. So I just want to avoid that. Tommy Tables says Peter Watts is the Canadian version of the drinker. Is he? Who's Peter Watts? I don't
I don't
know.
know.
Raised by Wolves says, I think that Hollywood writers are deeply, deeply jealous of authors of well-loved books and series. Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, because they themselves don't have it in them to write something that they can touch millions of people, so this jealousy drives them to destroy that which is loved. I think there's definitely something in that, for sure. Like the amount of vitriol they seem to have for people like Tolkien is pretty interesting. I think it gives you a real insight into their psychology, and I can't help thinking that jealousy is a big motivator for them.
Yeah.
They desperately want that kind of recognition. They want to be seen as like a real someone who's made their mark on Western culture, and they don't have the ability to actually do it.
It
Um,
reminds me when people describe like I don't know, even their own work as like iconic when it's just come out. And it's like, no, that's
yeah.
not how that works.
Or yeah, just all these petty little attacks you get on people like Tolkien who are like, oh well, he was very much a product of his time and well, his attitudes were very outdated by today's standards. And it's like, oh fuck off. What do you expect if he was born in like the fucking 19th century? Do you think he's gonna be like a modern progressive liberal? It's just
Uh,
bullshit.
it is like I think they call it morally lucky when you're born in a society, environment, and era where you're basically told well before you even have a working brain what's good and bad, and then you get to judge everyone else for not having. Like there were people across all of time that were told and taught all kinds of things. To think yourself is like so above all these people is like, gosh, the height of fucking narcissism. You have no idea.
Yeah. But it's like all we have in modern culture is just this self-reinforcing cycle of validation where they get told that over and over again and they get praised for like spouting the usual bullshit, and so it just carries on because they're
Yeah.
incentivized to do it. And yeah, like they just need someone to call them out on it. Trioxin says Blind Sight reinvigorated my interest in sci-fi 20 years later and I still haven't read or watched anything better. Nice. Samuel the Infamous says, in point of fact, Drinker, it isn't hate at this point, at least for me. Regarding modern Star Trek, the only thing that I feel is indifference. I get it.
That's
And
fair.
I felt much the same thing. Like, that was why I basically made a video when season 2 of Picard came out, and I just said, no, I'm done. I'm not gonna bother reviewing this. I'm not gonna watch it. I just don't care anymore. And so it took a lot to bring me back, but the fact that it took Robert like browbeating me for months on end to eventually watch it, and I did, and I'm quite pleased with what I've seen. So it is possible to win people back, but hey, man, like it's up to you what you want to do. I can't make you watch it. Uh, Simon Ho says Robo Picard it finally got installed with Robo Balls. Yeah, yeah. He does act a bit more like actual Picard here, and
Mm.
man, I can't tell you how, because we've talked about this before on open bars, right? Where there'll quite often be scenarios where a male character is getting chewed out by a woman over something, right? And he's actually got a valid point that he could raise to defend himself, but the writers don't want to do that because they don't know how to then get her out of it and give her the upper hand because they need her to
Yeah.
win. And so he just doesn't say anything. And the scene just kind of moves on. And it's so fucking frustrating because you just want to scream at the guy like, God's sake, just have a spine. Stand up for yourself for once.
Well, I think we'd agree that
Uh,
the best example possibly is Last of Us 2 game. Joel just doesn't defend himself at all.
Yep.
against Ellie, and someone might be like, "Yeah, well, he loves Ellie. He's going to let it blah blah blah." And it's like, no, that's the point. Is he would have known the choice back to front why he did it, and he would have told her. In
Yep.
fact, he probably would have fucking burnt her out for trying to think that she would even know better than him when she was unconscious.
Yeah. So there's all that kind of stuff, but like this is the kind of validate or vindication that you get in this series where it's like seeing that played out again, but Joel suddenly does stand up for himself and he does say, like, yeah, well, fuck you. Like, I was put in an impossible situation and I really loved you and I couldn't bear to lose you and I had to do this and that and the other, and actually explains himself. That's what you get from Picard now. When people try to give him shit, he actually just like bites right back at them and he calls them out on their hypocrisy. And yeah, one of the bits that I really loved was Seven of Nine, who you know has a go at Picard over one thing or another, because he's basically manipulated her into getting on board the ship, and she's like trying to do the usual thing that happened in the first two seasons, and Riker just steps right in and he's like, "Yeah, fucking watch your tone, because he's an admiral and you're like a lieutenant or something. So fucking get it in line." And it's great. It's just you needed a guy like that as well to defend him. So yeah, it's nice to see. Um, the Almost Dead Man says, I think fans may want to be convinced to come back to Trek. Honestly, hearing critics who have credibility plug season 3 is convincing me to give it a try, probably risking spoilers in this stream. I mean,
I
yeah,
mean, that part's up to you guys. All you've been told by them is that they gave it a chance, they thought it was good, and they think it's worth supporting.
yeah.
And it's up to you with that information.
I think when you've got like me, Dave Cullen, Gary, and Robert, like all who have been viciously critical of modern Trek, to have all of us come out and say, yeah, this is actually pretty fucking good. It's got to mean something.
Well, the day may come where a Ryan Johnson Star Wars movie arrives, and I say, check this one out, guys. It's possible.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's an example I've given where people have asked me about bias and stuff, and like, how much does the artist influence your perception of the art? And it's like, well, that's the ultimate test, isn't it? Like, if Ryan Johnson does get his Star Wars trilogy and they somehow turn out to be really good, like as a reviewer, I'd be duty bound almost to sing its praises, because that's what it would deserve. He's produced a good piece of art there.
Yep.
I might not like him as a person, but like it doesn't matter. Like it's about what he's done, and that's what I would strive towards, I suppose, just to try and be fair as much as I possibly can be. Praetor gave me a super sticker, so thank you. Kevin O'Neill says, imagine a bully steals and breaks your favorite toy, and then you get in trouble for calling the bully a jerk. That's how Star Wars fans feel. I mean, yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
M919 Silver Bullet says, the people at the top are bean counters, and bean counters have one track mind and they don't understand creativity, only numbers. Yeah, which in a lot
Can
of
sometimes
ways
lead to
is,
good stuff.
well, that's the thing, yeah, because it's like market capitalism, isn't it? The market always corrects itself, and if you keep producing shit films that nobody wants, nobody will watch them, and so the bean counters will say, right, whatever it is you're doing, stop it because it's not working.
Yeah.
And it feels like that's just taken a bit longer to kick in than it should have done, really. Patrick Milner says, like my Mauler, I'm not a huge Trekkie, but I'm happy the fan base's patience has been rewarded. Drink and be merry for me. Well, thank you, and we were merry, so
Yeah, it's good to
it.
hear that there is some Star Trek content coming out that is not painful. That's nice.
Maximum Weeb says, ChatGPT and AI art in 12 to 18 months will allow 4chan users to make their own fan fiction come to life that will slap Hollywood right off their high horse, and I welcome Rule 34. Disney, Star Wars, Star Trek characters all boinking.
Whatever leads to us getting good stuff, sure.
I mean, that Chat GPT stuff is terrifying. What it can produce already, because it's still in a very like rudimentary form right now, but imagine where it's going to be like 10, 20 years from now. It's just going to be doing all our work for us. Oh god, I don't know. I don't want to think where it's heading. Roscoe says, Critical Drinker, have you seen The Critical Drinker is not a critical thinker? The guy who made also says that the Norseman is a product of toxic masculinity. Well, that tells me all I need to know, to be fair. Yeah, I've not seen that video, but sounds like a prick. What can I say? I thought The Norseman was a really good movie. Roland News says, Hail, have you ever seen the show Burn Notice? Great show I grew up watching. I'm rewatching it now, and man, do I miss this type of cinema and story. I've not seen Burn Notice. I don't know if you have, Mauler.
I don't think so. No.
Oh, sorry, mate. Toshi Yar says, Star Trek is about exploring the universe. The universe is infinite. That's why Star Trek fans will always want more. Universe building. We love that stuff. It allows us to explore our imaginations. Yes, exactly. And you know, it comes back to the point I was making to Dave the other night on Open Bar. Like, I don't think there is a limit to the stories that you can tell with Star Wars because you've got an infinite universe out there to explore. You can come up with the most insane concepts and civilizations and cultures that you can use as a lens to examine our
Yeah, and a
own
new
world.
captain makes it so, like a new captain and team. It's just new chance to have different characters exploring similar things.
Yeah, they're just there to facilitate all these ideas, and ideally, you know, you'll make them really interesting, and you can explore different facets of their characters and their history and stuff. Like that's the formula, the magic formula with Star Trek that worked for about 40 years. So they've obviously done something right. Um, Blue Collar Loser says, got the first Ant-Man show when you went live, like 1 and 2. It was an okay film. Not great, not Phase 4 bad. Kang is not Thanos. Multiverse is Phase 5. Okay, there's a lot to unpack there, but
Well, Phase 4, 5, and 6 are all multiverse.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, theoretically, Phase 4 was, but what did we really get from it? Multiverse
Well, that's
of
the thing.
Madness.
It's all bullshit. It's just facilitate new characters and crazy places. It's not really anything like. It's not like the Infinity Saga, as so to speak, where it's a series of resources moving around the world that affect all different kinds of characters in all different kinds of ways. Different characters trying to use the stones, protect the stones, collect the stones, and then Thanos being like, "I want all the stones. I'm going to hire people to grab the stones," and those work as villains in other films. I can't believe I'm saying this because I'm making it sound like it's so much better than it actually was, I guess. But that that's an idea. That's something that binds the three eras, the three phases, so to speak. This, it's like, what? There's multiverse in No Way Home because of a spell that went wrong. It's like, okay. There's multiverse in MOM because, well, she has the power to travel the multiverse, I guess. That's just, okay. Why does it happen in Quantum Mania? MODOK sucked him into the quantum verse and he has a multiverse traveling machine in there or something.
Oh,
Okay.
God, I hate it.
It's like, Kang is going to bind it all together, don't you worry.
Yeah, and Kang gets defeated by fucking Ant-Man, like the least powerful, least interesting Avenger that we've had.
Well, Drake,
Uh,
he's defeated by Wasp. Really, if you when you watch the end, you'll see
okay, but like you know, Wasp is essentially just Ant-Man in a different
with
like.
wings.
Yeah, exactly. He's just him basically,
Oh, I
same
just wanted
powers
to.
and stuff.
After he's attacked and killed by ants, he fights Ant Man, and then he's beaten by Wasp. It's great for setting him as a Thanos level villain. Yes.
I was gonna say yeah, because like this is meant to be the serious, dangerous version of Kang, isn't it? Like we got the goofy one in Loki, and now this is like no fucking around. He's dangerous now. And
Since
he
it's
gets
the
beaten by like the this mid-tier Avenger character.
since it's like the end of Phase 4, beginning of Phase 5, I totally would have considered having him not be beaten at all in the film, actually winning, getting what he wants, and killing Ant Man, and being like, I mean business. I'm gonna go do what I'm doing now. But like Ant Man or
Well,
his family get
you,
the word out to the Avengers.
you know what's interesting? Because well, you'll know this yourself, I'm sure. But like this movie, when it came out now in February, this was meant to be the Marvels, and so you were meant to have Captain Marvel. And imagine that, right? And I'm not advocating for 1 minute that this would be a good movie, but imagine Captain Marvel, the most powerful Avenger that's ever existed, I guess, going up against Kang and kind of getting her ass kicked by him.
That'd
That
be
would
good.
that would that would
Yeah.
build him up pretty good, I would imagine. I mean, I know they'd
Obviously,
never have the balls to show her losing to anyone, but you know, like that could be done. And say by the end of the movie, she just escapes with her life, barely. But it's like, holy shit, like that. This guy's terrifying. He almost killed me. You know, that's
I
that
wouldn't be
could
able
be
to resist writing it that way as well. She's like, he almost killed me. You guys have no chance. And then they're all like, okay.
yeah. I mean, that movie is cursed anyway. Like it's now been shifted back to like November.
Yeah. Can you imagine what they're
Oh,
dealing with? They're probably watching it right now, being like, "Guys, we need to, we need to fix this. Is there
I
anything we
yeah,
can do?"
I can only assume like they saw the finished version that was almost ready to go, and they were like, "Oh God, this is disastrous. We need to reshoot like massively to try and fix this." So yeah, I can't wait to see it.
Yep.
That's why they've never had the trailer come out. They are terrified of releasing this film. Christian Wolf says a futuristic sci-fi utopia is a pipe dream, fool's gold. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. Well, yeah, and Henry Cavill's fighting it, so it's all right. You know, we don't mind. Henning Hayden gave me a super sticker saying thank you. So thank you, man. Toshi R says Isaac Arthur and John Paul Godier YouTube would be great futurists to pull from. Toshi recommends. Fair play, nice. Casey White says open bar is my favorite way to start the weekend. Excellent. Start your weekend on a Thursday. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Drinker, I subscribed as soon as I saw your Dog Soldiers video many moons ago. Cheers, mate. Nice. That was before the drinker even really took off, so awesome. A says, which SNES or Sega Genesis games are your favorite? My mind goes back to Jurassic Park, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Gunstar Heroes. Is there something other than nostalgia that brings people back to those games? Cheers. Well, I never really had a Sega Genesis, but I did have a Super Nintendo. So Donkey Kong Country, I played the shit out of that. Same with Super Mario World. I love Desert Strike. Trying to think of what others I really got into. I Jurassic Park, right, was abusive because there was no save feature. So you had to play through from start to finish, and there was no password system either. You had to play through from start to finish and just complete it without dying. If you died once, you got put back all the way to the start. I have never seen anything like that in a game before, and it was fucking horrendous. I never managed to finish it actually as a kid. Man, games were
Yeah, take a
hardcore
lot
back
of
then.
patience.
But yeah, those are my main ones, I think. Sandwiches with Mayonnaise says, off topic, but I didn't watch Puss in Boots yet. I want to, simply because sexy Spanish accents make me want to go back to the creator menu of life and pick a different race. I mean, well, yeah. Antonio Banderas has got a very smooth voice, isn't he?
Selma Hayek's in it as well.
Oh, nice. Now you're talking. Yeah, she's always nice to listen to. And look at, actually. I mean,
Well, she's a
what
cat in
is she?
this, but yeah.
I know, but yeah, like if you see her in real life, because she's like what mid-50s now, but damn, she still looks good. She's
Yeah.
aged well. I don't know if there's like Hispanic, maybe they just age better than us pasty white people.
Maybe.
But yeah, they got something good going on. Gator 159 says invite Movie Bob to a happy hour episode of his movie selection, assuming he would accept the invite. Challenge him to be your guest. Do it.
Could you imagine?
I should we have Movie Bob on then? I'm sure he'd be excited to come on. If you have him on EFAP, then I'll have him here. There you go. Has there ever been like suggestions of doing something like that, bringing Movie Bob on for an EFAP?
Yeah, I think different people think of it as different things, but obviously, like our main thing is we just want to talk about storytelling. Like there are memes to be had, but Movie Bob is actually like kind of a big asshole. So it's
What do you mean, kind of? Jesus.
the whole like advocate of a genocide sort of stuff is like, yeah, that's actually kind of
Yeah.
bad, guys. Like it's pretty not good.
But sorry, Birdman 520 says, "Hey drinker, I sent a super chat last open bar. It wasn't able to stick around to see if it was addressed. If it almost certainly was. If it wasn't done on the open bar, it would be in last orders. So go to my second channel after hours, and you'll probably see it answered there." But anyway, he says, "My mum loved Redemption, but we can't find the rest of the series. All listings on Amazon are really expensive." Yeah, that's a weird one. I mean, at the very least, you'll be able to get them all through Kindle. I know it's not to everyone's taste, but like if you just want to know what happens in the story, you can at least get them that way and like read it on your phone even or whatever. And yeah, like because the first three books, well, really all of the Ryan Drake series were done through a British publisher, and so they can be a bit spotty in terms of like their availability in, America, Canada, Australia, that sort of thing. So I do apologize about that. It's kind of out of my hands, unfortunately. I don't, I can't control what the publisher does with it. Uh, Avatar Soul says, "Is it true that the drinker does not wear pants while filming these videos? I've noticed that every time you have to stand, you shut off your camera." Well, you'll never know. I like to hang free and easy. What can I say? It's exhilarating. Slosher says, "Trust is gained in drops and lost in buckets. Need proof that studios can change. I love my mother, but if she became a zombie, a grotesque mockery of something that I love, now animated by evil forces, then I'd have a change of heart." I mean, well, that's a good analogy, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, I think I liken Picard season 3 to like the first step in the road to redemption. It's not gonna win everyone back, but maybe it shows that it can be done, and if they keep producing stuff that's good, eventually people will come back because as I said the other night, there's got to be some kind of path to redemption for any studio, for any franchise, whatever it might be. I don't like this idea that you just say, right, they're dead to me forever. It doesn't matter how many good things they put out from now on. Like, I'm just done with them. Because you're not giving them a way back, and you're not giving them an incentive to produce better stuff. You know.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people try to come up with analogies. I get a little tired of them when people are like, "This is like having a good meal, but loads of poop on it," or maybe a big poop with just a little bit of sugar or something. And it's like, no, let's just connect it to what it actually is. It's a restaurant. You went in, you didn't order anything. They offer one meal. It was shit. You came back next week, shit meal. Came back the third week, and it was a good meal. Now what? It's like, well, I mean, everyone can make of that what they will, but I think what's strict and happening is that we're calling the good meal a good meal. That's as far as we can definitely go.
Yeah. Joe McGinnis says Puss in Boots 2 is the most human movie that I've seen in a while.
Yep.
Nice. Maximum Weeb says, "I bought Blu-ray of 52577 movie on eBay. Supposed to be incredible about the very first Star Wars fan who saw the movie early. Thanks for doing this live stream. Newfound respect for Robert Meyer Burnett. Also subscribe to you and Mahler." Nice. And yeah, I've not heard of that, like that movie, that documentary, I guess it must be. But it sounds pretty good, actually. Probably quite an interesting thing. So, like, yeah, someone getting to see Star Wars before anyone else. That's kind of a cool little idea. A or Not says, "Mahler's Unbridled Rage TLJ was the first one I watched, and from that I found The Drinker, Gary, Jay, and all the rest of the G&G guys. That piece of work is legendary to me."
That the one, the first Rage video, the one with the melon, watermelon. Fucking sorry. Oh god, so long ago. It feels so weird too because I made it on such a whim. I think I mentioned it before, but
How do you make a fucking hour-long video on a whim? Jesus.
I'm pretty sure it's half an hour. That one.
Oh my god, that's like the
Yeah.
shortest of the long man videos.
And the editing is super minimal. There's not that many visuals, which like things changed obviously. But yeah, I came home from watching the movie and I was like, that was 50-50 at best. And then I spoke to, at the time, Metal Commander and Fortier, and the more they tried to add praises, the more I was picking at them. Like, no, that was bad because of this. I was like, no, that was bad because of... And then they were like, fine, well, what do you think was good about it? And I was like, uh-oh. I don't think anything was good about it. I was like, this is... And then I started getting really angry because of the Luke stuff. And I think I'd seen some clips of him saying, like, it started to recontextualize a lot of clips people already seen in promotion, especially the ones where... Have you seen the clip? It's fucking brilliant. Where he says, they cut the scene where he mourns Han Solo. And he thought it was really important because it helps audiences have a moment for Han with Luke, and it shows that it's on Luke's mind, and that it's going to affect things going forward, and that there's a lot to draw out of it, and that it got cut, and he said, we have time to watch Luke milk a space alien, but we don't have time for emotion, I guess. Like, that's something Mark Hamill just says, and it's just like, damn, dude.
he once upon a time he was based as fuck, and he was actually just given his real unfiltered opinion on this stuff, and obviously someone from Disney had to have a word with him and be like, "Yeah, Mark, you're actually really hurting this movie now."
Yeah, Mark, you
I
can't
just think
say these things.
it must be so like soul destroying for like someone like him, like one who like obviously reprising a role that like basically made his career, but also just as an actor with common sense who's like, okay, motivation is important, and like, what does the character want to achieve? What's actually driving them and stuff. To have to speak to someone like Ryan Johnson and basically be told, yeah, you're just sad and depressed and you don't want to do anything now. It's like, wow, okay, that's what I've got to work with, is it?
But don't worry,
Awesome.
Ray will convince you to go and help your family.
Yeah, and it's really interesting when you say about your reaction to TLJ, because I think a lot of people had that slow realization almost. Like, the best I can liken it to is like in Father Ted when he kicks Bishop Brennan right in the arse, and because like it's the last thing that guy would have ever expected to happen to him. He doesn't even believe that it actually happened, and so Ted's able to convince him that everything's fine, and it's like he walks off totally like in shock, and it's only like a week later that it's like he just goes, "He did kick me up the arse." It's just like goes back to take revenge on him. But yeah, it was like that. Everyone just couldn't quite believe how monumentally terrible it was, and it took a while to sink in.
Yeah.
Fascinating movie in so many bad ways. Ulysses Venezuela says, "Hail Drinker, I would love to listen to Robert Meyer Burnett, Chris Gore, and Jay Bowman just talking about movies. All of them are a well of knowledge." Thank you. I'm really pleased that you didn't include me or Mahler in that. But never mind.
It's all right.
Brian Babin says, "There is such a thing as a point of no return with a fandom. You can't expect fans to come running back because they finally deliver greatness after years of non-stop insulting trash. No, sir." No, I agree. I mean, like I say, I don't think people should just do an about face and immediately come running back like everything's perfect. I just think it should give them pause for thought. That's
People
all.
said it, and we know it's true about Andor. Like, people didn't show up. And it's like, why would they? And it's like, yeah, no, I understand. But we'll still tell you what it was. We'll let you know in case you were curious.
Yep. Bombardier says, "Hey guys, it's Marcus from Los Angeles." Well, thank you, Marcus. You know, damn, we were just like waiting, killing time until you showed up. So thank you. But he's saying the issue with this bad storytelling from Discovery is that it basically destroys any good deed done in other Star Trek series, only to elevate Michael Burnham. I mean, yeah, pretty much. It's one of the things that I've called out plenty of times before. This rewriting of the past to elevate your own characters and be like, yeah, we're just going to surreptitiously slide this character in before the events of everything else that happens, so we can just retroactively
Love it when they
take
do
credit
that.
for all of that. Yeah, it's so insulting. Jacob Joseph says, "I think Ghostbusters Afterlife was the beginning of writing the pop culture ship." Uh, I mean,
Well,
I just got done slagging it off earlier, but like
maybe the beginning, maybe.
the fact that the movie even got commissioned, I suppose, is something, because you had Ghostbusters 2016. It was everyone fucking hated it, and it was a financial loss for the studio. You know,
Yeah.
and so the fact that they even said, right, we're shit canning that, and we're going to bring out Afterlife instead, which is much more traditional sequel, that is something, I suppose. But yeah, it still wasn't a great film. Nate says, "It's a shame that someone worked real hard on putting together a good show with the lady who wished death on my entire state because of our governor." What is that a reference to?
I'm not sure who.
Yeah, sorry, that I'm not American, so I don't know the ins and outs of that one. Sorry, mate. Michael Clark says, "Hail to Drinker, Muller, and the panel. Love the content, but I find it hard to find the time to actually watch. Any chances for a podcast in the future?" I mean, what would the difference be? I don't get it.
Oh, I get. Are they suggesting you put this on Spotify or whatever?
I mean,
Or because this is a podcast, right?
effectively, it's just us talking. Like, you could just have the audio. You don't need to see us, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be like, it'd probably be an unedited podcast, so I wouldn't put like fancy musical cues and all that stuff in it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I've always assumed like if people wanted to just listen to it, they can just bring it up on my second channel and just stream it that way, or even download it or whatever, and then you can hear the audio. I don't know. Um, Josh Kelsey gave me $20, so thank you very much. Jorgen Jorgensen says AI will make special effects more accessible. Artists will be fine. They said the same when audio began being used in film. Well, I hope that's true then.
Yeah, I
Sound
think this is a little bit different, but okay.
yeah. Sandwiches with Mayonnaise says, it's crazy how Bruce Willis tanked his career with all those C-list movies just to provide for his family because he knew what was going on. Nothing but respect to him. Gotta watch Die Hard now. Yeah, he's just been diagnosed with a form of dementia, hasn't he?
Yeah, that's gonna fucking suck. That is not a thing I'd ever want to be told about myself. That's
no,
not a fun one.
No, I mean you can handle, you wouldn't want it, but like you accept obviously getting older, there's going to be sort of physical debilitation. You start to slow down and stuff. But like to not know your own mind, to not remember people,
yeah,
that's terrifying. So yeah, it's shit that's happened to him. But well, he kept going as long as he could, I suppose. Three Beer Thunder says, rumors of Fleetwood Mac. I could never create anything like that. The band sleeping with each other, cheating, fighting, drugs, heartbreak, and love. No AI couldn't even comprehend that type of raw emotion. I mean, I hope it's always like that. Like, there's always going to be that distinction between, what was created by an AI or a computer and, the human element that just brings that authenticity to it. I hope.
Yeah.
Grendel Vivat says, hopefully AI art will never develop into a scenario where it's the base standard, but real artists and actors performing live is the luxury or most quality version. Yeah, that's another scenario, I suppose, isn't it? It's like, oh, you want to see this movie performed by real actor as well. It's going to cost you 3 times as much, Caroline KW says, huge fan here in Nevada. Would love to know if any of you have seen or heard about the Dungeons and Dragons show, The Legend of Vox Machina. Great original content with well-crafted storytelling. I don't think either of us have seen it, but I've certainly heard nothing but good things about it. People keep recommending it, so got to be something there. B Hummer says, great stream, guys. If you want a recent series that might move you to tears, check out Violet Evergarden. Okay. Thank you. Andrew Clark says, AI script writing will aid people with ideas to generate the first draft, and then people will improve it. My brother uses this process to write code now. Yeah, that's what we were kind of talking about the other night. Transylvanian says, transhumanism would lead to Borg-like slavery. Probably, yeah. Kevin O'Neill says, the movies are turning into video games, and the video games are turning into movies. What the fuck is happening? Well, there... Yeah, video games are still a new art form, really. Especially getting to the point where they can, they can display movie-like cutscenes. Use proper professional voice actors, and so maybe they've got a period of maturity that they've got to go through.
Well, they're making shit tons of money.
Yes, more than movies now, isn't it?
I'm pretty sure it destroys the movie industry. Yeah, and yet movies they just have more of a foothold in culture somehow than video games do.
Yeah, it's interesting that, isn't it?
I saw a post the other day. It was really funny. It was someone saying, I was thinking about how my dad still calls, or my grandpa still calls movies talkies or whatever. And then they like sort of sat still for a moment and then thought about the fact they call them movies. They're like, wait, that's kind of fucking stupid too.
That's interesting. Ice Physics Gaming says, you're being too negative, I think. In terms of transportation alone, horse carriages were the height of technology for thousands of years. 100 years is short. I mean, I guess it is. I'm not sure what we're
I don't know what that's like a reply to.
Mark Colreevy says, question for all of you. Do you think the backlash to all these awful mainstream films will lead to the rise of independent films like in the 70s and 90s? We assumed it would, but it doesn't seem to have so far. It's just them getting a foothold in cinema, which is the hard part. I think we all assumed the pandemic was going to reduce movie budgets and maybe give rise to the mid-budget movie again. Totally not happened. They're right back to the assembly line of films again. So it's like nothing's changed. I just don't know how independent movies make an impact. It would have to be done online, I suppose. It would just have to be done through streaming or just YouTube, things like that. Three Beer Thunder says, "Thou shalt not besmirch the good name of John Moses Browning, the Almighty himself. The Almighty looked down upon the 1911 and said, 'This is the Lord's sidearms, so let it be written and let it be done, never to be replaced.'" I mean, yeah, we were singing its praises. It just seems like a cool gun, doesn't it?
It do.
I mean, yeah, is it like the shark of the gun world? It's just like it reached perfection like 100 years ago and it's like just never needed to evolve. Pretty cool. Kevin O'Neill says, "I got to say, Robert's talk about space roaming AI was a fantastic movie pitch." It does, yeah. The guy should just be pitching stuff to Hollywood all the time. Jin Korea says, "Just purchased my ticket for the Comic-Con. I'll see you there with a bottle of Woodford Reserve." Nice. I will share a glass with you in that case. Looking forward to it. John says, "Drinker, by the sound of it, all you'll be saying after seeing it is Ralph." What is that a reference to? Ant-Man?
Ralph?
Yeah. She says, "Drinker, by the sound of it, all you'll be saying after seeing it is Ralph." I don't know.
Maybe there's a reference I don't know, but no, I'm not ringing any bells. I was just thinking about how, imagine you did like when you're in doing some kind of Comic-Con or an appearance of some kind, you get like 10 slots for people to be able to buy, which is take a shot with the drinker or something, and you cap it out at 10 because you're just like, I won't be able to do.
I'll be dead after that. Yeah.
I was just thinking, imagine you're the 10th guy, and then you're like, "Hello, what do you want to talk about?"
It's like I've got a bucket like just next to me, like, "Oh, it's good to meet you."
I paid for this drink, and you will take your shot. You're like, "I know, I will."
That's I guess that's the thing, because it's like especially if you start doing events in the evening, because there's always the opportunity to say like, "Oh, I'm going to rent out this big bar somewhere and like people can just get a ticket and join me." It's like, yeah, you realize every fucking person there is going to try and get you drunk and like buy you like rounds of shots and stuff. Like you'll die if you try and keep up with it. So yeah, there's got to be something there. But hey, it's a great atmosphere at the cons. Like, just nice to see all these people who want to come and see you. What a jutsu says woot on a super sticker. So thank you. Jace says, "Would you be open to making a full movie commentary, much like the channel Pretty Much It?" I don't know. I've never really done that before, except on EFAP movies. So, but that's with a big group of people. I don't know if I do it by myself.
Audio commentaries are a little different because I've even made some where they're much more deliberate and calm. EFAP movies are like, blah, 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 "Oh my god, that's so dumb! Oh, can you believe it?" But audio commentaries are like, this part of the film I find to be very important because like it's much more deliberate and calm.
The closest I get to that, I suppose, is if I'm streaming a game where I can just kind of give my thoughts, but mostly it's just shit talking and having a laugh.
Yeah, people still want the reactions, being like, "Oh my god, look."
Yeah. Silent Evil says, "I love Keaton, but something looks a bit off about him in The Flash. The suit's a little Party City Halloween store-esque. A CGI Batman doing all these flashy action stunts is not exactly what I wanted to see for his return." Yeah, there was a couple of very obvious, like, that's not Michael Keaton doing that amazing stunt there. But
like they said, it's obviously not even a real suit. It's just CG blurb. It's just like, bleh.
Yeah, I mean, he's literally the only reason people are going to watch this fucking movie. It's not for Ezra Miller, that's for sure. Founding Father says, "Evening, fellas. You can only keep one movie and the other one is gone forever. First Blood or Die Hard? Personally, I'm keeping First Blood."
Die Hard.
I mean, it's interesting because I actually watched First Blood just the other night and I was like, "Oh god, this is really good." But I think if I had to pick between them, I'd probably keep Die Hard. Yeah.
I can't be expected to give up Die Hard, So.
It's a tough movie to give up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bottlebound Rogue says, "DeVito is the best thing to be in a DC movie." That was from Batman Returns, I guess.
Yeah,
he was a good Penguin.
I mean, seriously, Michelle Pfeiffer does amazing in that film as well.
Yeah.
It's
just a great cast all round. I I don't know if you got this as well. That scene where Penguin comes up out the water, like right at the finale, where he's like trying to make his way over to like the fucking gun. It's like got a
Yeah.
big stack of umbrellas. And it's just like the music there is like really tragic and stuff. I always felt so bad for him in that scene.
Well, I
Just
mean,
those,
the film is about he was abandoned by his parents. The penguins
yeah,
like accepted him and raised him, and he spent the whole film trying to be accepted in this new world. He gets ruined by Batman and Shrek not like helping him out, and then hated, and then he tries to take revenge, fails, and who's there at the end? The penguins.
penguins, yeah, carry him into the water.
They were his true family all along. There's like a. It sounds dumb, but that's how we do it with the comic book movies, right? The superhero movies. There's a dumb surface level of like, wow, silly nonsense, lasers, but underneath there's something going on, and like Catwoman's whole thing in the whole movie is she's trying to figure out if she's a good guy or a bad guy. She doesn't really know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
the only person who is sure of their own identity, there's no like duality and craziness being experienced, is Christopher Walken's character. He's very sure of exactly who he is.
Who would have thought that from Christopher Walken in any
Exactly,
movie,
it's
really?
great.
But yeah, he's like he's weirdly normal in amongst this cast of absolute freaks, you know? Because yeah, he's the only one who's not like in a mask and all that stuff, and yeah, he even cares for his son, doesn't he? Like
He
he's
does.
willing to risk his own life for Chip,
He
his
says,
son.
"Take me, don't take him," which is kind
Yeah,
of cool as a little layer.
yeah. I love the bit where he's shooting, you know, Catwoman and like not killing her because she's got 9 lives. It's just yeah, it's really cool stuff.
Well, when I think she says like, "You have whatever many bullets, I have 6 lives," and he's just like, "Fucking whatever," and just shoots it. Like
Yeah,
he
because
doesn't
she's
believe
like,
it at
oh,
all.
yeah, because it's like you got enough in there to finish me off, and he's like, well, it's one way to find out. Start shooting her.
Seriously, he's great at it, and it's the most normal role he's ever played.
uh, what's this? Venom Kitisu says rewatched Goldeneye last night and a fish named Wanda. They're never going to make movies like those anymore. Fucking love Goldeneye.
Yeah, I
Such
love
a good
Goldeneye.
Bond movie. Just, Pierce Brosnan was perfect in it. Casey Boyd says thoughts on Donnie Darko. God, that's a film that I've never got round to reviewing, and I think it would make very interesting review fodder. Yeah, I remember liking it. I remember like the sort of it's like the predestination twist at the end. I guess it was kind of interesting stuff to contemplate in a movie, and yeah, it's been a good few years since I've seen it, but I remember really enjoying it. I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to watch it again to be able to give thoughts. It's been ages since I've seen it.
I feel like it's one of those films as well that just for a while it was just fucking everywhere. Like everyone had Donnie Darko posters on their wall and stuff. It
Hmm.
was just like because it was the cool movie to like. I never saw the sequel either. Now that I think about it.
I haven't either.
Pi 3766 says, "I'm convinced Patrick Stewart has a humiliation fetish. That's why all of his iconic characters as of late get talked down to, deconstructed, and killed off in the least fitting ways." I mean, yeah, tough to argue that when you saw Professor X in WandaVision. Sorry, in Multiverse of Madness, I suppose.
It's hard to keep track. Don't worry.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is what I've heard. Like he had a lot of creative input on Picard season 1, and that the only reason they were able to get him back in the first place was because he wanted Picard to be deconstructed and kind of humiliated. It was like the Picard apology tour. And presumably, I don't know if they basically said, right, you're not getting any creative control over season 3, but you're still under contract, motherfucker, so you've got to dance to our tune, monkey. And maybe
Yeah.
that's how they made him just do this, even though he perhaps didn't want to, but whatever it was, they've got him back on track now. But yeah, it's proof positive that actors shouldn't always have creative input on their characters because sometimes they're just fucking idiots. Casey Boyd says, why haven't DC or Marvel hired the Arcane writers? Studios should be throwing money at those guys. Those writers succeeded where they failed.
As
Yeah.
long as they're making money, they're good writers. That's as far as it goes for being hired.
Yeah.
So,
But you always, I guess, you always see people like that, and it's like finding a diamond, in a fucking toilet, surrounded by shit. It's like, well, these people did a great job on this one little animated show, which was great, but like it was relatively low impact. What could they do if they had a massive platform to build off of? Like the MCU or something. Like, what could they do there? I guess that's what you always hope. You know, people like that are going to get promoted upwards to bigger and bigger things where they can have a bigger influence and actually do great stuff. Um, Casey Boyd says, "Is it ironic that Joss Whedon, damn, it's windy out there tonight. Is it ironic that Joss Whedon got Me Too'd quarterback Buffy the Vampire Slayer before it was trendy to have a female action lead?" Um,
Well, yeah, I think it's ironic enough for a male feminist to be Me Too'd, right? Like, there's a lot of that sort of point of view. But yeah, well, a lot of people forget that Buffy, Ripley, Sarah Connor, anybody fucking existed before 2020 and shit.
yeah. I guess what I'm
Yeah,
saying is like he maybe you can see now like he was an asshole who kind of abused his position, but he also did good things in terms of like the shows that he helped produce, and you know, there's a double edge to that, I suppose. You
yeah. I mean,
separate,
his idea with Buffy was just he was just sitting around or whatever and thinking about horror movies or shows where there's an alleyway, there's a monster, there's a girl running and screaming, and he was just like, "What if the girl could kill it? What if the girl
yeah,
had the power to just kill it?" And
it's
it's like
nice.
you came up with a law that could make that happen, and then there you go.
Casey Boyd says this might be a hot take, but I enjoyed Looper. Maybe because Ryan Johnson hadn't yet developed a smug ego. I know it was flawed, but enjoyable. I mean, it's a weird one. Like, as long as you're prepared to completely switch your brain off when it comes to how time travel functions in it, then maybe you're okay. But
I
yeah,
mean, the movie breaks itself. That shit annoys me. Tells me how its rules work,
yeah,
and then it has to break its own rules to get its payoffs. Like, well, nice, I guess.
because yeah, when you're dealing with something like time travel, man, you have got to have a cast iron set of rules that you work to
Yeah.
because it can get really fucking complex really quickly. Um, JS Pena says June 1st is when Johnny Depp won the trial. Good. I don't know what that's a reference to though.
Oh, I think he
Um,
said Pirate Month was June because he won the trial of that. I guess.
okay, fair play. XSL says, when are you going to do an unbridled Krakatoa? I guess that's the next level of like
Is that worse
rage.
than Catastrophe? I guess so.
I was going to say, well, you could have Cataclysm, couldn't you? And that's like pretty
Oh
high
wait, I
up
think I
there.
did have Cataclysm.
Did you?
I think that's what the Doctor Strange one is called. Yeah.
Okay. It would have to be like an
What's one up from
unbridled
there?
apocalypse then, or something.
So yeah. Well, to be honest with you, I don't know if I'm gonna watch a movie I think is as bad as MOM ever again.
Yeah.
Seriously, like, so it might be able to calm back down. Like people are like, what, you ever gonna call it an unbridled rage ever again? It's like, well, if a movie's just bad, sure,
Yeah. Yeah.
that'd be nice to
Um,
get one of them.
well, well, what was it? Captain Marvel got like an unbridled meh.
It
You
did,
know?
but I still think that movie's terrible. The meh came from like my feelings about it all because I wasn't invested in it to begin with, but then they made a shitty character, wasted their time, took away Fury's history, retconned a couple things, and then the movie, like the movie could be out of the MCU and it wouldn't change much of anything.
Yeah. Um, Aaron Clary says, "Thanks for reviewing these movies so that we don't have to. You've saved billions of hours of men's lives." I mean, that's good. I hope they use that time productively. Go and like cure cancer or something, or invent a light bulb that lasts longer or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, Red Muskrat says, "I like hacky jokes in comics. MCU pushes too hard with this stuff." Yes, it does. By God, it does. Casey Boyd says, "Drinker, with your bar getting so popular, do you start to notice your regulars, or are you just too damn wasted? If so, bartending maybe not for you." I do start to notice them actually, and I don't know if you mean amongst the guests or amongst the commentators and stuff like that, but yeah, I especially do on like the catch-up streams where I'm not as drunk. Like definitely by the end of open bar, I'm not quite remembering things as well as I usually do. That's why, like I was saying to Muller beforehand, I had to watch a replay of open bar so I could remember how far I got with the super chats because I did not remember in my brain.
The memory's just not what it used to be.
Yeah, but yeah, it's kind of cool when you see people cropping up again and again. It's just like, oh, they're getting some entertainment out of this and they want to come back, which is nice. You know, it's a good sign. And yeah, I guess there's certain people that we've brought in more than others just because they're very suited to what we're covering that week, or they're just really easy to get
Yeah.
along with, or they're more available, or whatever it might be. But but it's kind of good, you know. We try to vary it up as much as we can, so it's not just we don't want to just have the same group of people coming in week after week, and you know sometimes we're able to get something kind of special together, like you know having Rob and Gary and Dave all on one stream was pretty cool because they're all
Yeah.
massive Star Trek guys, so pretty nice. And the last one here is Silent Evil, who says, if the rumor of another Batman cameo in The Flash is true, imagine a CGI rise from the grave Adam West. It's so bonkers that I kind of want to see it happen. I mean, it's really horrible in one sense. It's like they're just raping this guy's corpse to like bring him back when he totally didn't give his permission. On the other hand, it would be really weird to see, you know, his version of Batman, the campy, goofy one, alongside like Michael Keaton's one.
And to be honest with you, he probably would have given permission, but that's still not enough, is it?
No,
Like probably. It's just like, and
well,
besides, we just don't want it anyway.
You know, it comes, yeah, it comes back to that AI argument where now we're at the point where you can deep fake actors. If you get a sample of their voice, you can pretty much put their voices into things as well. And it's one thing for an actor who's still alive to say, yeah, okay, I give you permission to do that, so I don't even have to bother acting in the film. It's another thing altogether to take a dead actor and just approach his estate or his lawyer or something and say, hey, can we buy this guy to use in our movie? This dead guy who can't give us permission? Like, that's getting into quite distasteful territory, you know?
Yeah.
But hey, that is all of the super chats that I could find there. So hopefully we covered them all. And if anyone did get missed out, I sincerely apologize. But like I say, that was everything that was on the YouTube list there. As I said at the beginning of the stream, I'm not going to be on this week, which is like Thursday the 23rd, because I'm going to be at Comic-Con in Atlanta. So I'm very much looking forward to that. But then I'll get back into Open Bar the week after. So I'll only miss one. So it shouldn't be too bad.
Sweet.
But yeah, thanks for everyone who super chatted us. Very much appreciated it. And we'll catch you on the next one. But that's all we got for today. So go away now.